Confidentiality is a principle in the Hippocratic Oath, and so it's useful to compare how it plays out in the Hippocratic ethic to how we're uh, trying to describe it in the respect for persons ethic. So remember, the Hippocratic ethic is a consequentialist ethic. So benefits are right-making uh, features of actions. If an action produces a benefit or we think it's going to produce a benefit, that makes it morally right. If it produces a harm, that makes it wrong. In the respect for persons ethic, it's the way it treats a person. So we are called upon to treat persons in particular sorts of ways, to avoid certain ways of treating them because it doesn't respect them as persons. Okay, so looking at these two principles, I think shows us how these two ethical traditions differ. So in the Hippocratic ethic, fidelity is only a type of beneficence. So the oath promises whatever I see or hear in the lives of my patients, which ought not to be spoken of outside, I will keep secret. As patient benefit is the only inherent value in itself, good for what it is, violating the patient's confidentiality can be ethically permissible in this tradition if it's done for the sake of patient benefit, as we saw in the case of Dr. Brown. He defended himself for doing it this way, and he won his court case. You could defend violation as avoiding harm to the patient. It's an act of non-maleficence. So I keep confidentiality as long as that benefits my patient, but once it stops, then benefiting my patient is the higher value and it takes precedence over that. Those things aren't even considered to be valuable in themselves. Confidences should not be broken to benefit other people in the Hippocratic tradition. Okay, so Dr. Brown would have to argue, I wasn't trying to benefit her father, I was trying to benefit my young patient. In the respect for persons ethic, fidelity and confidentiality are ways of respecting the person and are morally required in themselves, no matter the consequences, as long as we're dealing with a person. So violating them is always wrong. Okay, so whereas in the Hippocratic ethics you would use beneficence or benefit to justify violating confidentiality. In respect for persons ethics, you can't justify violating it. Now, what happens in this ethic, because it's not that we have these exceptionalist norms. I mean, we have to find ways to get around them. So we don't say that the principle can be thrown out, but rather we need to make exceptions. So exceptions can still exist, but they are typically due to duties to others, not trying to benefit that person. They should be publicized. There should be some sort of way. Here's what's going to happen if this happens, and they should be applied equally in all situations. So, for example, a law that requires reporting positive HIV tests. Okay, well, that would violate somebody's confidentiality. They may not want that information out there, but the law is to help others. So it's duties to others. People might be harmed if they don't know that they have been exposed to HIV. These exceptions should be publicized. People should be told before doing this test, if this was to come back positive, by law, I have to tell everybody, and nobody gets out of it. Okay, so that's kind of if you understand what's going on, that's kind of how an exception works. Okay, so ethical conflict can arise between the loyalty of health professionals to their profession, to their patient, and to other professionals, and to organizational policies. So you can have all sorts of conflicts of loyalty going on here that don't arise in the Hippocratic ethic at all. So it's a little more complex. I think it's a little more realistic. I think it's much more the way we think things should be, but that's up to you to decide what you think about that.